So you have a tool there to look at and to see how you're doing. And I would, it's a tool you can also bring to your boards. I would hope that if this trend is upward, if you see this going up, and yeah, there may be one crazy year, 2008, right? But this is a trend line. This is a linear regression. So we don't account for that one crazy value. I don't put the trend line like that. If you see it going up, I would hope it gives you pause and ask questions about what's going on, what's happening here. Same thing here, complaints, same thing. Here are the different studies. Good. We talked about this, they'll be listed on the CMA, or you can go past this. And that's all I have. So hopefully you'll attend some training next year, some really detailed training on CMOM. Thank you.
Anyone have questions for Jack? So I have a background in collection system, O&M, for a number of years, too many now. But anyway, I'm going to focus a little bit, switching gears. You're probably thinking, why is Wisconsin doing this, and what are other people doing it? Well, this has really been around. I'm going to provide more a national perspective. And myself, and actually Andy Lucas here too, are on the Water Environment Federation National Collection System Committee. I've been on that committee for over 20 years, along with Lori Chase from Blue Heron Engineering. And so we came up with this presentation to kind of say, what are others doing and why? I know, and Jack, my saying too is kind of find it, fund it, fix it. And you and the communities are having a difficulty because of getting the money. I look at this rule as being able to get to say, we have to do this. You know, sewers are out of sight and out of mind, and the money's not allocated. So now you have this mechanism that says, we have to do this. And we know that is it. So it's a mechanism. And you know when you have a sewer repair, it costs 10 to 20 times to repair that rather than if you just fix it. And the message is going to be protect. Why are we doing this? The whole thing is protect public health and welfare. That's why you're doing it, so you don't have sanitary sewer overflows. We've gone through these resources, but the Water Environment Federation has been providing resources for over 20 years regarding collection systems and CMOM programs and private property, and I'll go through that. But this is just to let you know that there's a lot of resources. You know, maintenance problems is a tree over your manhole. You don't want to see them. And we did reference this book. That is where it's available. We'll post this presentation on the New Water website, so you'll be able to grab this. It's a nice booklet that Jack had. So the Water Environment Federation role, they started working with US EPA since the 90s to address sanitary sewer overflows. And the Collection System Committee actually worked with Region 4, EPA Region 4, to start to address that CMOM checklist. Because what happened is in the 80s, they were just building bigger plants and conveying flows, and they thought that was going to solve all their problems. And then they started to look into, why are we still having sanitary sewer overflows? Why? Because you have blockages in the sewer due to dirt, debris, and grease. Why? Because you had a power outage at a lift station. Why? Because you had 10 inches of rain. So mostly you're trying to eliminate what we call the dry weather overflows that are due to O&M versus even the wet weather. So EPA started going down this road of a national SSO rule, but they couldn't get the states and the environmental groups to work, so it pretty much has been sitting on the shelf. So different states across the United States are saying, hey, we have to do this to protect our waterways, because they realize it's a national resource in your waterways to protect our water. That's what the message is, protecting our water. So the state of Wisconsin, started down this path. We want to protect our natural resources. We want to protect our lakes and rivers where our fishermen and our swimmers go. And so they started this rule. This rule, I've been working on the task force, is really a common sense thing that you want to operate and maintain your collection systems effectively. So WEF also started doing workshops across the United States to start to educate the communities on what they need to do to take care of their problem. In Milwaukee, the MSD, they had a stipulation. They had no choice. In the early 2000s, they had a state stipulation, and they and their satellite communities were required by the state to do a CMOM, implement a CMOM, and part of that is also they have to do manhole inspections every 5 years and report. Greenwood Metropolitan District in South Carolina has been doing this for a number of years, and their message was, we want our community to grow. We want to entice people to come to our communities, so we want to protect our waterways. So they actually had a CMOM fund base where they said, your CMOM dollars at work. They were doing a sewer project, the sign said CMOM dollars at work. And it was an $8 monthly fee, it's probably gone up. But that's how they implemented their program. And it's public education of getting everybody to buy in that we want to protect our waterways. And it's intensive inspection and cleaning. One of the factors that they do is they inspect during wet weather to try to determine their problems. And I'll use Little Chute because I always like your example of Roy's, is they started just doing a simple, I would call it maybe 2 guys in a truck, guys being generic, and going out and inspecting manholes throughout their system, maybe pick 20 depending upon your system. Inspect during dry weather, and then you inspect during wet weather. It's a simple tool to start to determine where your problems are, and that's a great way to be able to do it. Phoenix, Arizona, I don't know how many of you have problems with fat soil and grease, but that's a significant problem in many communities. In that area, the valley got together, and that might be something to consider as you're in certain regional areas. Do you want a region fat soil and grease problem to stop this from going in your sewers? Because that's a big source of problems. Clear water elimination. Some of it is low-hanging fruit, like start to eliminate your manhole covers that have pick holes in them. The amount of, I meant to look it up, the amount of water that goes through the manhole pick hole cover, I don't know if you guys know off the top of your head. Yeah, it's just a huge amount of clear water going through it, and that's on public property that you can do it. Many people are doing manhole inspections. That's a significant source of clear water coming in that maybe even your crews can do it, or you can contract out someone. And inspecting and cleaning your sewers, I can't tell you enough that gives you a baseline. Some of the factors that impact your costs and your costs that are associated with your community, like New Order or Heart of the Valley, is fat soil and grease. I don't know how many you have to go to a frequently visited area, like I would call, to clean so you don't have a blockage. So there's a cost associated with it, with equipment, with cleaning, with water, with gasoline, and also fat soil and grease can cause an SSO. Flushables versus non-flushables, especially in this area of Green Bay where you got major, in the Fox River Valley, major paper companies. This is a big issue across the United States. People are putting flushables or non-wipes down their sewers because they don't know any better. So this is a national thing that more and more resources and public education are going to be going out to be able to eliminate that. That's an impact on your sewer maintenance. And we're working actually with manufacturers and whatever. Another fellow collection system guy, Rob Valet, is actually meeting with Kimberly Kirk over in Neenah as we speak to look at their testing facilities and seeing what we can do as a group and nationwide, because we're going to have to work with them as well. Cross bores. Cross bores, what is that? That's when another utility puts your line through your sewer. And if it happens to be a natural gas line, it is deadly. There are deaths every year from cross bores coming through there. And I forgot to put the website of the crossbores.org, I believe it is. I'll add it to the slide and add it. This is critical. Some communities are now requiring that after a gas line goes in, that they have to inspect your sanitary sewer line to make sure that it doesn't go in the sewer or the property lateral. And private property. What am I talking about? Private property. The point that if you haven't started your program, you need to start thinking about it. You think about it that you've got 50% of your sewers are on private property of those laterals. And if you're in older communities, their laterals are probably 80 or 90 years old, they're leaking. Plus you have roof drains. Some people have already started, I heard the city of Green Bay already implemented in the 90s to disconnect all downspouts. But you can also have water coming in through window wells. You also have leaky laterals. Older neighborhoods also have foundation drains. And my favorite is the people who have illegal sump pump connections that continue to reconnect to the sanitary sewer system, causing more problems and clear water. You don't need to be able to be paying for it, and New Order and Heart of the Valley, they don't need to be treating this clear water. And it contributes a significant amount. There's a website on the web.org /private property. You can look up what other communities are doing for private property because there's no need to reinvent that wheel. Johnson County and Kansas have done a significant amount. They got brochures, whatever you want to do, that information is already being able to done. And importantly, you can spend public money on private property for the good of the public. And that's an important point as people go, well, I can't go onto private property to be able to do that. Although, Jack, was there something just recently on that rule that you just...
Yeah, Dwayne and I have been talking about that a bit, and that has to do with in Wisconsin, Act 32, and that has to do with municipalities doing work on private property, especially repairs or construction. As far as investigative, I think that still would be okay, but it's probably, I have a lot of questions in that regard on what actual work you can do on the section of line that's actually private. Wayne, do you have anything on that?
Well, the city of Madison just sent out a letter to all of us property owners offering us a $70 annual insurance policy for private lateral insurance, if you will. Apparently in the past the city has fixed laterals on private property to the tune of like $4,000 each. And this Act 32 that was passed presumably prevents that from going forward. So the city now is saying they can't provide that service, even though the homeowner may have paid for it to the city. You now have to pay a private contractor to fix that, and that's the $70 annual insurance premium. So how this is going to work out, I'm not really sure.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
There are existing programs in Wisconsin. I know the city of Marshfield has been doing the private property work for a number of years. Campbellsport, which is population less than 2,000, in 2004 they implemented a fee that goes to a sewer lateral replacement fund. And it's usually a combination of private and public money to be able to replace laterals. And there's programs on. And really, it's public education. If you get a chance, I'm going to give you these are kind of funny videos from the singing sewer guys in London that take a bunch of songs, get rid of fats, oil, and grease, and they're just kind of humorous as I was going through the land. And you know, some homeowner, $1,000 homeowner cost because you know there is debris in their lateral and what it costs. So the more information that we get out there to public educate why we have to do that is really important. And so I'm just giving you just email addresses, and Kelly, maybe if I can get some of yours to put on this so that they have access to email addresses. Any questions? Well, I'm frankly surprised a lot of you are here with deer hunting season starting in 2 days. I was told that nobody would show up. Well, we really appreciate the DNR and really appreciate you guys coming as the first steps, and we'll be, any questions, contact them.
Hope to see you at the training next year. Probably one will be in Green Bay.